Welcome to Her Talk with Tai Vicari. I am your host, Tai Vicari, and I am really excited this evening because I have three very important guests on, and they're important because they have charity behind them, they have truth, and they have loving kindness. Now, to my right, to my left, I can't even speak today. To my left, I have attorney Michael Alber, who is with us, and he's going to speak to us about his practice, and he's also going to speak to us about Man of the Year with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So welcome, Michael. Thank you for coming on the show.
Good evening, Ty. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you, thank you. So tell us, okay, what type of law do you practice?
So I have a litigation-based practice. I was a former prosecutor, so I practice state and federal criminal defense work. I have a divorce and family law section of my firm, and a firm devoted to civil commercial litigation work.
So for the layperson, what does litigation mean exactly?
Litigation is it's courtroom. It's proceeding to court. It's a little different than what might be a real estate transaction at a table, where you're signing a contract signing involving either the sale of the house or a sale of a business. My practice is devoted more towards people that have disputes after a contract goes bad, or people that are charged by a prosecutor's office, whether it be a state prosecutor's office or the U.S. Attorney's office. Divorce or family law cases involve going into court and settling family issues such as child support, custody, maintenance, equitable distribution of assets. It involves a judge. It involves, and in some cases, in a criminal case, involves a jury, and in some civil litigation cases, it involves a jury. So more courtroom dynamics.
So that's a specific type of law that you're practicing, and not every attorney, we can say, goes into a courtroom.
Sure. I mean, there are differences between lawyers that try cases that go to verdict in cases, and then there are lawyers that are transactional based, where they're not in a courtroom and they're doing contract signings or even wills, trust, and estate work, where they're designing a trust for somebody. The section of law that somebody is as a trial lawyer or a litigator involves quite oftentimes taking a case to verdict.
So, and that's, I find it fascinating that you do that, because that means you have to be on your game all the time. And not that there's a misstep for any attorney, but that's like intense, because now you're in front of a judge, you're in front of jury, and you're really defending that person that you're representing, and you have to basically know everything. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, the pressure comes in when you have somebody that's life's about to get drastically affected. Most often in a case where their liberty is at stake, or they're facing significant charges and their career could be impacted, and long-term potentially could be incarcerated if you lose at trial. So the level of preparation involves hundreds of hours in preparing for a case. The trials that I go on, whether it's a 5-day trial or a 5-month trial, I give it everything I have, which is sometimes 3, 4 in the morning, making sure that I am prepared. And sometimes that preparation for a specific trial starts months in advance.
So what is the longest trial you've been on?
I tried a case in 2016 that lasted a little over 4.5 months in downtown Manhattan, with a person that was accused of being an acting boss, underboss in a crime family. The allegations stemmed from a lengthy investigation done by the New York County DA's office, as well as members of law enforcement in the NYPD, special task force involved. That trial lasted a long time, and in preparation, I was preparing in advance for that trial, probably about 8 months to a year in advance of intense prep with specific times of the day that I would specifically just devote to preparing for that trial. It ultimately ended in a mistrial with a jury that at the time that the mistrial occurred could not reach a verdict, and then there were issues involving a decision to discharge a juror, which ultimately triggered the mistrial.
So is that a good outcome? Is that,
In a case that the government described their case as overwhelming, they described their case as extremely strong. They thought that they had arguably what was a dung shot prosecution. A mistrial in their eyes, in many respects, was a loss for them.
So what is your ideal, what is the type of client that you prefer?
The type of client that I prefer is somebody that needs help, that's in a bad situation in their life. I enjoy helping people, whether that be getting a dad custody that deserves it, getting a mom custody that deserves it, having a client that's been falsely accused and then later exonerated and or found not guilty at a trial is a major moment, especially when you believe in somebody that they were wrongfully accused. So people that need help, that need service, and are in a bad place in their life, and they're relying on you to assist them.
So you're a gentleman that likes to help others when they need it most. And that leads me into what you're doing right now when you're trying to raise funds for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society and the Man of the Year. Can you tell the audience what is leukemia lymphoma? Because some people are like, oh, it's a blood cancer, but not everybody knows that. And why are you so passionate about that particular organization?
So every time you walk into a room and you start to talk to people, you get an idea as to who people are. And most oftentimes, one of the things, if you get to know people enough, if you've asked them whether or not they know somebody, a family member or a friend that's been affected by cancer, invariably, a large amount of people are going to tell you yes. And leukemia and lymphoma, that particular, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, my mother-in-law passed away from lymphoma. I've had friends battle lymphoma. As a matter of fact, two friends. Specifically, I had a cousin that battled lymphoma. My grandmother battled lymphoma. I had a good friend of mine whose daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. Rob Cox, a good friend of mine, also who got me involved in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. He's had experienced the effects of leukemia in his family. And back in November, I was asked to have a meeting with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I did. And I wanted to help in any way that I could. So part of that is participating in a competition that was put together by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society that happens every year. People that have been affected by cancer and some candidates that have not but want to help are participating in a friendly competition to raise funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society so that additional money can go towards treatment and, in essence, finding a cure. And my particular team that I've put together, our team name is Find a Cure because it's exactly what we're determined over a long period of time to do. And maybe with the assistance of the public, we can do that. And that's why we're engaging in fundraising efforts. We just had a fundraising effort at the main event. Our fundraising campaign ends in June. And between now and June, we plan on having other events to raise funds for our team so we can put forth the best effort we can to helping others.
Yes, and that's why you're here. In fact, I'm going to tell everyone I am actually on your team. And I know that, if everyone's looking at the screen right now, that they should go to the lower part of the screen has your link to where they can donate. So to me, and I just want to say this, I've had one nephew that had leukemia, and he's in remission. He's been in remission for, I would say, about 7 years now, which is good. And, everything seems well, and he's actually getting married. So we're very happy and proud of him for all his accomplishments. And what was strange is that he was such a dynamic young man. When he was diagnosed, he was in his senior year of high school, and he took that time period and he played on the stocks.
Wow.
And he became really successful, because he took his time and he did it, productively.
Yep.
But my family has been stricken with all different types of cancers, and so that's why, to me, I was like, you know what? Yes, because to me, cancer is cancer. It sucks.
Yep.
Let's not pretend like it's something that any of us want to deal with.
Oh, yes.
And I think that raising funds is super important. So, anything that you have, like any flyers or anything like that, during the commercial break, we put flyers up. So any upcoming events, as long as my show's going, I will push it out
Great.
there.
Thank you.
And so what's your goal?
We set a goal of $350,000 to raise. We are actively pushing towards that, and our methodology and our motto is there is no donation too small and there's no donation too large. And from our perspective, if each person in our society, even those that may not have been as adversely affected, if we pull resources together a little, each individual little donation adds up to be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have, people that need it, I can't think of any better of a cause. I mean, there are causes that strike close to the heart, and this is one of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you have to say anything to the audience, now's your chance. If you can just let them know exactly what you want them to do, if you have an upcoming event, or if not, don't worry. I will make sure that your upcoming events go out there. But
so we have a comedy night coming up, and how can you go wrong with a comedy night? You can't. It's anticipated to be a great time. We're in the process of putting that together, and we'll have a date this week. It's going to be at Governor's, and we're going to be putting that date out probably by the close of business tomorrow. If you follow my Facebook page, if you go to Michael Alber, A-L-B-E-R, even if you go to my law offices of Michael J. Alber PC page, if you go visit Ty's page, you'll be able to see the link for making a donation. We appreciate anything that you can do. It takes 5 seconds, in essence, to click the button. And that 5 seconds of clicking a button may ultimately save a child's life someday. So I ask that you take the time if you can. There is no donation too small, and there is no donation too large, and any contribution is. We thank you.
thank you, and thank you for coming on the show today. And I hope you come back again. And for all of you guys out there in the world, please, you see the link. It's on this page. And if not on this page, there's many avenues that are out there. Even if you go to LLS.org/LI/LI19M Alber. I know, can you imagine? I memorized the link. Then you can donate. And you know what? Also, during next week, I am going to do a crazy Facebook competition type thing. And that way you can also donate on that too. So stick around. We're going to have a commercial break. And next up is Brian Cohen. And wait to hear what he has to say. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
No worries, got no woes.
And we are back, and this is Her Talk with Tai Vicari. I am, we had Michael Alber on just a few seconds ago, and he is trying to raise funds for a noble cause. I just wanted to weigh in that blood cancer and any type of cancer is seriously, we all know that it sucks. And we all know that funds need to be raised for this, for awareness, and also to find a cure. So hashtag find a cure. And in the interim of that, now I have my next guest on, who is Brian Cohen, and he's representing Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. He is the Emcee of Take Steps, and he is on the show. Welcome to the show, Brian.
It's an absolute honor to be here. Really thrilled about it.
Thank you. So I'm really excited because, I didn't really know what Crohn's disease was. And I mean, I've heard it. I've seen those commercials on TV, and I'm like, oh, and you know how you don't really pay attention until someone brings it up to you, and then all of a sudden you're like, I know what that is. So can you explain to the audience what Crohn's and colitis is?
Yeah, Crohn's and colitis. So it's two separate diseases with a bunch of similarities. So it's an IBD, or an irritable bowel disease. Crohn's affects anywhere along the entire digestive system. That's from the mouth all the way down to the anus. Crohn's also is a bit different in the respect that the way it affects the system, it goes deeper into your intestinal tract. So your intestine is only a certain amount wide.
Okay.
All right. And the Crohn's disease can actually go deeper into the intestine than colitis can. Colitis will irritate the inside of the intestine, whether it be, and that's mostly the lower intestine for the colitis side of it. But it irritates the inside of it, where you get ulcerations, and you possibly or probably get some bleeding that goes along with it. The challenge with Crohn's is that it'll appear in one spot and then it'll jump to another spot. I'm going to use the word benefit, and I probably shouldn't, but at least with colitis, it's a little bit more localized. So the treatments are different depending upon which disease it is. The symptoms, many times, is exactly the same.
So how does a person know if they have that? Either one. How would you know that you, first off, can you be born with it? Is it something that you're born with, or is it something that you develop? Can you explain that a little?
A lot of the research is going on this side of it. Are you born with it? Probably are, because it's some gene someplace, and as soon as we get that down with exactly what it is or how it's manifesting itself or what's triggering it, then we'll be able to answer that question a lot better. They'll be able to answer that question a lot better. So it is very possible that you are born with the disease. So they're looking at that. They're doing studies to see if it runs in families or not, because now it is. It used to be focused on one kind of one portion of the community. Now it seems to be spreading a little bit more. So it's a challenge, but there's a lot of research going on. So we are getting closer.
And it's a debilitating illness to a degree, or since medication is in place, because I know that I have a cousin and she has IBS.
Right.
And she couldn't work after a while.
Right.
So, is that still the case? I mean, we're talking about when this was happening, this was in the 80s and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm dating myself. So in 1980.
Yeah.
No, but now with the medicine that's out there, are you able to go to work and do different things and such?
You gotta love this answer. It depends.
Okay.
And actually, I just came from our support group, and so many stories, so many medicines that people are taking, what's effective, what's not, it depends. And then the beautiful part of that whole thing too is that it changes. So IBS and IBD, two separate things.
Okay.
Irritable bowel syndrome versus irritable bowel disease. So the syndrome, side of things is treated differently. The irritable bowel disease is a disease.
Okay.
So there's nothing that they did, nothing they ate, nothing lifestyle, none of that stuff has caused them to have Crohn's or colitis. It just is, it is what it is. As per the medications, that's actually expanded tremendously. My wife was diagnosed with colitis as a teenager. I got involved with it when she had a flare-up, which was about 25 years ago. When she started taking medications, there was only a handful of medications. Now there's a whole lot. There's many, many more medications. Some of them you see on TV. But there's a lot more medications that can be used, and also in different degrees. So how the GI doctors, the gastrointestinal doctors, are actually treating it, everybody's got little different approaches to it, but they are treating it with they have a lot more weapons, we'll say, in their thing. How do they actually diagnose it? That's a good question. How do they diagnose it? How do you know what you have?
Well, how do you know? Because, I can make jokes, but
no, I know. It's
but how would you know? Because sometimes, the symptoms are.
Well, the symptoms you're going to wind up with, you've got bleeding, you've got diarrhea, you've got tremendous stomach aches, and we can probably throw a whole bunch of things where that's kind of happened, to different people. But the chronic bleeding, that's definitely an issue. Okay. Now, whether it's Crohn's or colitis, and some people are diagnosed with both, so it makes it a little bit more challenge there. But it's the colonoscopy that usually is the big thing. You use the camera, go take a look, you see what's going on. But then with the Crohn's disease, though, the Crohn's disease could be anywhere in the digestive system too. So you can't take a colonoscopy and look all the way up too. So with the colitis, you could see it because it's generally in the lower intestine.
Well, I know I have neither because I have to get my colonoscopy every other year.
Right.
I have colon rectal cancer in my family.
Yeah. So
I'm always getting checked. And but what about, I'm in my 40s. So
I'm north of that, so it's okay.
But how would a young, you know how young people are. They're like, well, I don't need that. I'm not going to get that. So, how would you encourage a person hey, you know what? Maybe you need to go to the doctor and see if you can get a colonoscopy. Or the other one is, I know what the other one is called, where they go in through your mouth with the dye.
Endoscopy. Oh.
Yeah.
The endoscopy?
Yeah.
Just down the throat? But that's not going to get that far.
Oh, okay.
That's just down the. It's possible, right?
Okay.
It is possible you'll wind up with Crohn's, on the upper side, in the esophagus area. But, for the most part, it's more prevalent, on the lower side of things. So how are you going to get somebody to go? Let me tell you, if you're going to the bathroom 20 or 30 times a day, and you're bleeding, you're going. You don't need encouragement to go. You're going. You go okay, what's going on? Yeah. And then the diagnosis, and that's been somewhat of a challenge too. And the doctors have gotten a lot better with it about actually making a diagnosis. Oh, and, in the beginning it's, hey, you got stomach aches, you ate something wrong, self-inflicted, that kind of thing. I would venture to say just about everybody in our support group has heard those kind of things in the initial stages. But now they're actually diagnosing it much quicker, which also means they're able to treat it much quicker. And if you're able to treat something before it gets really bad, your rate of success is greatly enhanced.
Absolutely, because you're being more proactive than reactive to a situation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dealing with a small problem, not a big one.
So your wife got you involved 20-something years ago.
Yes, my wife got me involved.
And today you are the Emcee of Take Steps. So how did that come about?
My wife was diagnosed as a teenager. We had gotten married about 2 years or so after we were married. She wound up with a flare. So she was going through a rough period of time. How we got involved at that, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation was having an education event. So we went to it. Now remember, she had the disease for years. She knew what it was. I hadn't had a clue in the world.
Okay.
Nothing. I knew nothing. So we went to this thing, and even walking out of the education event, I absolutely knew nothing. I was so overwhelmed with the "it depends" answer on everything, and the different ways of diagnosing things, and the medication, and so much of the stuff was just things they were looking at. There was nothing definitive. So we started doing that. Where I recently got involved, though, in that time, though, I did go to a support group, and I thought the support group was run in a rather negative manner.
Okay.
Now, you know me, I
You're
like to
upbeat.
look at things
Yeah.
in a more positive aspect. So yeah, this is not a positive disease, but still, as with anybody, we all deal with challenges. I mean, we're sitting here, we're just going to go through one challenge after another. It's like, what do you do with that? So I thought that the support group should have been a little bit more positive. And then Donna Drake, from the Donna Drake Show, Live It Up TV. So she was emceeing the events, and she couldn't make it one time because she was flying back to, she was out of town she had an event that she was doing. So she'd asked me if I was interested in doing it. So when she said, yeah, okay, you got a microphone, a couple of thousand people, count me in. And it goes beyond that, too, because when we're at that, we do get a chance to share some positive stories.
Good.
We have a shining star, and a couple of other people go up and talk about how they're managing the disease, how their friends and family have been so supportive, and how they're raising money. So that's great to do. So I continue to do that, and we also do the support group with a positive manner. It's realistically optimistic.
So you
We're
got
not smiling all the time.
you got the mic from Donna.
Yeah,
and
well,
you
she shows up
ran,
once in a while.
and you ran with that mic, and you're like, it's mine now. No.
It's been about 8 years now I've been doing it.
So where does the take steps take place, for lack of better words? But where does it take place? I know it's happening in May.
Right.
When you're emceeing, like, what exactly are you doing there?
I'm thanking the sponsors. What it really comes down to?
Uh-huh.
All right. What I'm doing is I'm thanking the sponsors, the exhibitors that are down there.
Okay.
Because in order for us to take a step closer to finding a cure for it, we need to raise money. So these Take Steps walks, and they're happening throughout the country. There's 38 different chapters of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. So there's a lot of them that are taking place throughout the country. And if you just go to the website, crohnscolitisfoundation.org, you put in your zip code, you'll find out where these walks are. But what I'm doing out there is I keep it positive. And actually, the Take Steps walk, the day of event, it really is a positive thing. So all the exhibitors come down, vendors are down there, the teams that have raised money, they're down there too. They're all wearing their own T-shirts, so it's really great to see. We do get a chance to share some of the stories, the positive success stories that are there. But we also have a doctor's tent, which is really neat, because the doctors will come down and they'll answer questions. So we always talk, a doctor's inaccessible. Not that day. They're down there, they're...
And you don't need your insurance.
No.
You can just show up. This is your moment.
That's right. Show up, ask a question, and it's really great. And so they have some of the pediatric gastrointestinal doctors down there, some of the adult ones too. And we all get a chance to share stories and pat each other on the back for raising money. And also the big thing is to let everybody understand that nobody's alone.
So do you have a goal for how much you do want to raise that day, or is it just whatever?
No, well, there's always a goal.
Yes.
Whatever goal is.
Share
never,
that goal.
Never really a goal. Well, the goal is $400,000.
Okay.
We raised that last year. We expect to raise it again this year. How we get to that, we had a very nice donation last year. Don Imus and Rob Bartlett, they made a donation. Rob Bartlett also MCs this with me. I'd like to say I MC it, and he tags along. He had a different opinion on that one, but so be it. I get the first half, so I have the microphone.
There you go. You get the half that everyone's listening. No,
but the raising the money side of it. So yeah, I mean, it's always great. No donation is too large. I've heard that before, which is really the case. But it's these teams that raise money. Now remember, this is a family disease, right? There's no such thing as one person getting diagnosed and it doesn't affect everybody else. I'm sitting here in the caregiver role. I can tell you, it affects everybody. So the families go out, and they're raising money. How they raise money is the greatest thing in the world. So there's clothing donations that some of them do, and we sell the clothes. We get paid on that. A number of restaurants will give back if they have certain people coming down there to meet, so they'll give 10, 15% of whatever the bill is. Dodgeball game was one of them, too. So it's really great. There's a number of different ways to raise money in truly a fun way. And it's really great when the teams go out there and do that.
So you put the fun in fundraising.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you're going to raise money and have a bad time doing it, how much money are you going to raise?
Exactly. So, Brian, thank you for coming on. But is there anything that you would like to tell the audience before we go?
Yeah, I really would. As a caregiver, I could tell you that sometimes we feel really alone. As somebody who's diagnosed, I can't really give you that story. My wife could give you that story. The folks in our support group could give you that story. But I do want to implore you that if you have someone, a loved one, a friend, a family member that is diagnosed, you can't tell them what to do. You're going to want to tell them what to do. You cannot tell them what to do. But you can listen. And that is so important. If I was to sit here and tell you how to become a better speaker, I'm going to tell you should listen. You want to become a better caregiver, a better friend, just listen. And make sure you make the phone call when someone's not having a good day. Just let them know that you care. That's all you really need to do. And of course, send in a check or two to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. We need to raise money. We need to find a cure. We need to make this disease go away, as with so many others.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Brian, for coming on the show today. And for all you folks out there, on the screen, we have the website that you can go to. We also have a phone number. It's 516-222-5530. Yes, I looked down for a second. And then the website is also up there. And I really encourage you all to, this is important. If it's not you, it might be someone you know. And all the support and awareness is what everyone needs for this, to find a cure and eradicate all these diseases. It's ridiculous. So call the number, go to the website, make your donation, and stay tuned, because up next we have Linda Fostek, the crisis planner, and I can't wait to show you where she put her house. Stick around.
Got no worries, got no woes, feeling happy to the tips of my toes.
are back with Her Talk with Tai Vicari, and I just wanted to tell the audience that, I was asked a couple of weeks ago, why Her Talk with Tai Vicari? And I said, well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that I really like to show the world the uniqueness of regular people and real people. And so HER is actually an acronym for Hear Everything Real. So right now we're watching different shows on TV, we're watching reality TV, we're watching news reports, we're watching politics and different things like that. And what ends up happening is that you don't hear the real stories, you don't hear about the real people, you don't hear about the individuals that are actually making a difference. So Her Talk, Hear Everything Real, is what I want to bring to all of you. So thank you all for tuning in each week, Thursday nights at 8. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And now for my last guest, the woman who decided she was going to put an entire home in one box and just take it with you. That's amazing. Welcome, Linda Fostek. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, Ty.
Hi.
Mwah. Good to see you
Good to
again.
see you
I'm
too.
so happy to be here.
I am so excited because, first off, you are a genius, because you said, how am I going to fit this entire house in a box? Tell us the story. Why are you doing this?
Well, this is actually a legacy project from my dad. And when he turned 70, he saw a lot of his friends losing a spouse. And the chaos that the one that was left was thrown into. The husband had never run the washing machine, the wife had never written a check, the kids couldn't find any of the paperwork, nobody knew what to do. They usually scooped mom or dad up because the kids came from all over. They moved them someplace, and 6 months later they're sitting there going, how did I end up here? This wasn't my plan.
Mm-hmm.
So my father, the engineer, who was always very solution-oriented, he decided to write a book. And that was a home operations manual. And he called it the ABCs of home operations. Very original, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also organized paperwork, but it was written like an engineer. It looked like something an engineer had put together, and he had no clue how to market it or to get it out to the marketplace. And literally 23 years later, I was in a transition from I had been invited to retire, shall we say, and and I went to an event with Kevin Harrington. Now, he's one of the original sharks in Shark Tank. He invented the infomercial with the Ginzo knives.
Yes.
The Ginzo knife.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah, he
Yes.
invented the infomercial. And someone asked him how he chose the products that he puts his brand name as seen on TV, because he gets presented 20,000 products a year, and he picks 20. And his answer was so simple. It was like if he saw something that filled a need, he felt compelled to bring it to the market.
Okay.
And it was like a light bulb went on over my head, and I was like, oh my God, my father's project. Everybody needs this now. So I said, I'm going to bring it into the 21st century. I'm going to write it in language that's not like an engineer, and I'm going to make it something that people are going to want to do. So that's where this business was born, and where the whole idea of putting your house in a box.
But it all started with this,
Right.
right? So it all started, I'm going to lift this up. It all started with this, with this book here. And this is a great book, by the way.
Okay.
I've purchased quite a few. I give them away as gifts to people that are buying homes, or just people in general, because it's definitely a great book to have on hand, because it's filled with useful information from how to take care of your home to how to take care of your life.
Right.
So and then you were like, well, and now what do I do?
Right.
I read Shit Happens. And now what?
Exactly.
So, and this is a great life planner survival guide. I love how it's something where you can put together, all the important things that you need, from your life insurance policies, your investments, pre-planning for death. A lot of people are afraid of that. They're afraid of the inevitable. And, when this happens, And now what? You have to do that. So
And the scariest thing is that, so many of us now are taking care of elderly parents.
yes.
Parents that don't want to share their information. It's very scary for them to think about the fact that they may die. But as their children, we need to know the information. We need to be able to know where to find it when we need it. This book allows them to put it together. All they have to do is tell us where it is, and you can find everything that you need when you need it. They don't have to tell you what, they don't have to tell you anything, just where can you find it. So I took that, and I then took my father's idea of the home operations, because I started thinking about the fact that so many new homeowners today do not know the first thing about their home. The happiest day of their life is the day they buy their house. It's also the scariest, because suddenly, what did I do? What did I buy? What do I do with it? What is all this stuff? You mean I have a boiler? What does that do? Oh, that's the hot water heater. Okay, where's the air conditioning? I just know the button is here, but where is it? What do I have to do for maintenance? What can I do myself to save some money? Because if you have to call a repairman every time the toilet plopper needs to be replaced in the bottom of your toilet because your toilet's running, you're going to pay $150 to a plumber for something you can fix in 5 minutes for $8. But unless you know that you can do something with it, what are you going to do? So I took my father's home operations manual, and that's what is in this first book that comes as part of this whole kit. And this is everything about your house that you were afraid to ask. What all the systems are, what constitutes an emergency, how the appliances work, what you need to do to maintain them. He came to my house, he says, okay, what's that? I said, it's an espresso machine. Okay, how does it work? And he took all those kind of directions for every single small appliance in my house, not even just the big ones. So this is a really essential guide, and it helps you put your model numbers down and know that when you have to look it up on YouTube, that you don't have to be crawling around behind the refrigerator or under the stove to find the numbers, because they don't make those numbers easy to find.
No, they do. No, not even visible really.
No,
They're underneath
no.
things, and they're blending in, and God help you if you have vision problems.
Oh my goodness. So that was the first book. So then, and that was based on what he had done. And then I said, okay, so when you're a new homeowner, you get your home inspection. How many of us could find our home inspection if we wanted to find it? The home inspection has everything in it, like what everything's made of, what the windows are like, what the condition of the roof is, the foundation, all that stuff. So I said, what we need is a walk around, where you walk around each room in the house and each area in the yard, like if you have decks and sheds, and you look at it and you say, okay, how big is it? What's it made out of? What condition is it in? Does it need to be repaired, replaced, thrown out? Do I have to budget to have it replaced? If I need a new roof, I know it's going to cost me $5,000. I got to put money aside from that. So this allows you to know how many outlets are in the room and everything.
So this book and the entire set is also not only for homeowners, but if you are part of a co-op, a condo, or even an apartment. So
Right.
these are useful for any type of a person that, if you're living in something, there you go.
Okay, maybe a tent it wouldn't be appropriate for. And then as you own a home, you're going to make improvements.
Yes.
And you need to keep track of those improvements, because improvements actually get added to the value of the house. So like if you spend $10,000 for a new kitchen and your house was, just for round numbers, say $400,000, and you add $10,000 for a kitchen, and you do 2 bathrooms at $10,000 apiece, and you do a driveway, and you keep track of that. When you sell the house, if you sell the house for $500,000, but you've done all these improvements, you don't have to pay taxes on the increase in money that you got for the house when you sell it. So for tax purposes, it's so important to keep track of these things.
Wait, hold on.
Hold on.
Slow your roll. Wait, so if I have a house
Right,
and I put a new roof,
right.
I put siding, I
driveway.
upgrade the HVAC system. You know, I do,
Right.
and I'm jotting it all down. February 1st,
And
blah,
how
blah,
much
blah,
it-
how much
you
it cost me and everything else like that. And then I go to sell my house, but I'm like, but I did all these improvements.
Right.
So,
So you don't have capital gains on, your capital gains is much smaller. So for tax purposes, you want to keep track of those things. The other thing you want to have for insurance purposes, if you ever have a claim, and I know you and I have had.
We've had our share of claims, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
conversations, because you were a Sandy victim. So you know how important it is to have a record of everything you have.
Oh, absolutely.
Because no
Everything.
matter how good a memory you have, and you think you know what you had in that house, if everything is gone, you are not going to remember. And if you're smart enough to have contents insurance on your property,
Like I did. I had content, but not everybody has, so I'm telling you, audience, not everybody has content insurance on their home, which they should. Whether you have flood or homeowners, depending on where you live, you should always have content
but
insurance.
apartment dwellers should definitely have content insurance.
They should have insurance, period. A lot of apartment dwellers do not even have insurance.
Right.
And it's like, you really should.
And I mean, if your apartment building burns down, you get nothing for whatever you own inside that apartment.
And believe me, those landlords have insurance, so they're getting your stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, so the second half of this book is a record of all your
Belongings.
Your belongings, which you're going to document on camera and put on the 8 gig flash drive that's here, that you have a visual that you're going to take the ruler, put it in the picture, because now you have perspective that, is it a 9-foot couch? Is it a 6-foot couch? Is it the Hummel this big, or is it the Hummel this big? You have perspective so that the insurance company can't argue with you about the value of what you put on the list.
Wow. Walk us through the next two.
And then the last two are really your planning system itself. You've got the 8 steps of planning, which is your legal, your insurance, your financial planning, your tax planning, your banking. Very important to have multiple people on the bank accounts. Then you can do that they have only authority to use your bank accounts if you're dead. So you do it that way. That way nobody can have access to things. So there's a lot of ways to protect yourself, because a lot of people think they have the power of attorney for their parents, but the power of attorney dies with the person. So even a power
Yes,
of
it
attorney
does.
won't allow you to have access to the banking if you're not a signatory on the account. So that's a really critical thing. Your personal protection, your ID protection, your computer protection, you know, from viruses, and your backups, and your list of your passwords. I mean, my God, that can really be, you're pre-planning your funeral, and then your natural disaster emergency kit, which everybody should have, because we're all living somewhere where natural disasters happen.
In every part of the country now.
Exactly. And then the final book is really what I call the ice book, which is in case of emergency. So this has all your account numbers in it, all the contacts for the service people that you use, your medical information, what prescriptions you're on, who your doctors are, what hospital, what surgeries you've had. Because how many of us can remember? I mean, my husband had 5 back surgeries. You think I could remember when he had what? You know, it was too many things.
So walk us really quick. So then we have this here, because
So
our
this
time
also
is running
comes with
out.
it. So it comes with, you know, which is why this is so great for a new homeowner. It's got your labels for your circuit breakers. It's got your gas and water shutoffs. It's got a password book that you can record all your passwords. It's got water leak detectors, and this is like the best thing ever invented, I swear. You put one under your boiler, one under your hot water heater, one under your washing machine, and the AC drip pan in your attic. Because if you have central air, there's a drip pan in the attic that has a drain. Well, sometimes those drains get plugged, and that was the one that got me. I had a waterfall in my closet because the drain backed up. These let a 95 decibel alarm, so you can hear it. A set of keys, because the key could be the key sometimes.
Yes.
An 8 gig flash drive. There's a webcam cover that covers your webcam. Basically, I figure if Mark Zuckerberg has a piece of masking tape over his webcam, he knows something we don't.
Absolutely.
And this little cover like slides open and closed, so when you want to use your webcam,
I
you
actually
can.
use it.
That's really
Yes.
cool. And an emergency escape hammer for your car, which you're going to keep either in your console or right next to you in the door. And an emergency flashlight that you only activate if you need. And then it comes with the file pockets so that you can sort. You write down the category of file. And, you know, so like if you have personal documents, you have your homeowner's documents, you have your insurance documents.
Have
you
a
your
copy of, you should have a copy of your deed, you should have a copy of
Right.
all your paperwork from your mortgage, you have
And the
your,
best thing, it all goes into a watertight box. So everything fits very neatly in a watertight box. And you
So-
literally, you put all your file
Let's get
file
this all in
pockets.
there.
We're gonna pack it all up. So we're gonna put this in here. And let me just get this one. This one is stuck. Okay, there you are. And then this actually comes in like this. This is how it's packed. So it's right in the box with everything. And you pack it up. It's watertight, it's grab and go, so when you have an emergency, and the next time you get evacuated for a Superstorm Sandy or a
or a hurricane of any kind, or a monsoon, or whatever, you put it in, you grab it, and you go. So, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, Linda. And Linda is the crisis planner. She is the guru of crisis and how to get out of it. Please purchase her home box. You can put your entire home in this box.
And everything you need is there.
Everything. Everything.
Everything. And, you know, it makes
And how much is this, by the way?
It's $197 for the box, and you can get yours at thecrisisplannerhome.com.
It's on the screen.
And there's a whole bunch of fun free bonuses if you go there. So there's about scams and about
So we're out of
things we
time. So
forget.
you're going to have to go on the website. And thank you so much for
Thank
watching.
you.
Thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week, Thursday, 8 o'clock. We are going to have an amazing conversation and hope to see you all then. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Bye.